Hello again and welcome to Looking at Social Justice. I'm Jim Grant and today I'm especially blessed because we have a new ministry here in the Diocese of Fresno under the umbrella of social justice, restorative justice. It's going to be a special ministry for those impacted by crime survivors. We have two guests today who are going to share how they ever became involved in this ministry of grief counseling and grief ministry. We have Cielito, Maciel, Godburn, and we have Patty Reis. Maciel, can you introduce us to yourself and how you got this idea of doing something about grief and crime survivors?
Yeah, good morning, Jim. Good morning, Patty. Well, I'm here to honor my husband's loving memory. The journey of grieving is unique for each individual, and I lost my husband, John Christopher Godburn, to pancreatic cancer. However, all his life, he's been dedicated to bringing truth and justice, and as a Catholic, as a Christian, he has this heart that he would like to be a vessel of grace and mercy. So when the opportunity for the training to become involved with restorative justice, I became interested to participate.
Patty, where does your story begin? Why are you so interested in this?
Thanks, Jim. Well, in January 2012, I lost my two oldest children, David and Karen. They were 25 and 24. They were killed in a triple murder-suicide in Coronado. And in the wake of that loss, I had to learn how to live again. And that's what brought me here, is trying to figure out how to live again after that horrific loss.
Well, I want to thank you both for being here. And Maciel, tell us how there will be this new ministry. Tell us about what it is and how it would be compared with the normal criminal justice that we are used to.
Well, what we have now at work in our system is more of a criminal justice, and its focus is on punishment, and it would be like what the offenders deserve to get for the crime that they did. So restorative justice is focused on both the victims and the offenders. And here at the Diocese of Fresno, we already have a good support for the prison ministry, for the offenders, how they can be healed, how they can get back to reentry and all of those. But for crime survivors, they seem to get lost. They don't know where to get help. And that's where this restorative justice, what we call a ministry of encounter and accompaniment, will be focused on.
We get that theme from Pope Francis, this idea that he challenges all of us in all of our ministries to encounter and to accompany. How would that be applicable in the new ministry of crime survivor ministry? How will that work?
Well, Pope Francis is huge on mercy. And encounter, what we mean is when a survivor meet one minister or anybody who is involved in this ministry, they would experience love, grace, understanding. And with that experience, that would be the encounter, because they will not be encountering the person, but they will be encountering the love of God through this person. And with accompaniment, it will be similar to what Patty will be telling us about later, is equal to companioning. It's just letting it be. We just walk with them. And when that happens, we allow the grace of the Holy Spirit to work and the light of God transform. And when we do the encounter and the accompaniment, then that would be where the transformation happens and the healing of God would light, and His light would shine through.
Before we give Patty a chance to tell us a bit about all the things that she's already been doing in the parish of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton in Bakersfield and her own personal journey in this grief and grief counseling, one last question for you, Maciel, would be, there's going to be some training offered by the Archdiocese of San Francisco in June. Can you tell us a little bit about what that might involve and why you and Patty are going to be there?
Oh, we're excited to attend that one because it will be the Crime Survivors Leadership Training. And we will learn from that training from June 2nd to June 5th. We will learn everything, how to be able to facilitate and make restorative justice here at the Diocese of Fresno. There will be training about the circles of dialogue, and there would be how to facilitate victim-offender mediation.
I am so glad that you're signing up for that. I know that Julio Escobar, my colleague in San Francisco, is excited that Fresno is going to be joining. Patty, your turn you've got about 18 minutes that we really want to have you tell us a few things, because you are here as someone that's actually done in a lot of this ministry already at the parish. The things I'd like you to unpack for us is, how did you get started in this commitment, some of the training you've received, and this question that you pose is, where is my church in all this? So where would you like to start, Patty?
Well, thanks for having us. First of all, Jim, I'm really happy to tell my story, and the Holy Spirit has been, underlying this whole journey of mine. I certainly couldn't have created it myself. So after my children were killed, of course, my life came to a screeching halt, and I didn't know what I was doing. My friends didn't know what they were doing. Our friends tend to come to us in our grief wearing lots of different hats. Some of them are helpful to our journey, and some of them seem to hinder our journey. And we don't do a very good job with each other, being with each other in grief, especially when there's trauma involved in the loss or a crime involved in the loss. We just don't know what to do with that. But I also found that along with being everyone's walking nightmare, that bad things will happen to people, through no fault of their own. I also, in the middle of that, became a magnet for those people who did experience tremendous loss. And people in my community kept calling me and emailing me, and I know a friend of yours, and they told me to call you. And I thought, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do with these people. I can barely even walk myself. I can barely breathe, and yet people still called. So I figured I'd better figure out what I'm supposed to be saying to these people, and that encouraged me to go out and get some training, right? I have an interesting background. I'll just divert to that briefly. I started out as a petroleum engineer.
Oh my!
Yes, and I worked in the engineering in the oil industry for 6 years. I wrote 2 technical papers. I had a whole different track going on. And then I had David, our first baby, and the center of the universe shifted.
Yeah.
And I let go of my engineering life, and I picked up a life and became a childbirth educator and a lactation consultant. So I made an about change, made that natural switch from engineering to, childbirth and breastfeeding. And then, fast forward 20 years, and then now we lose David and Karen in this tragic, horrific incident. And somehow now I'm involved in the grief ministry. And so I like to think that the Holy Spirit has this common thread running through it all, and it is fluid flow. For all of you technical people, there's a lot of fluid flow in the oil industry. Oil's got to move from here to there, and that's a technical challenge. And then in birth and breastfeeding, there's a lot of fluid flowing, and now in grief, there's tears. And so the Holy Spirit's been somehow intertwining all those things for me. I went in my search for my own healing. I attended many retreats, some Catholic, some not Catholic, most of them not Catholic, I have to add. But I was really searching for something that would tie my Catholic faith into where I was supposed to go next in my grief journey. And I came up pretty short, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that when I went to my church to say, what do I do with this? How do I navigate my faith from here? That I was coming up empty, and I didn't like that. The few things that I did get from my retreats and the books that I've read, mostly books, were very helpful. I ended up landing, I don't know how, I'm sure it was the Holy Spirit again, landed me on the Center for Loss website, which is www.centerforloss.com, which is located in Fort Collins, Colorado, and run by an amazing man, Dr. Alan Wolfelt. And he provides classes that are 4 days long on many topics surrounding grief and loss. And I went to my first class in Fort Collins and found an immediate match between what I needed, what my natural skills were, what my previous life led me to, and that was the idea of companioning. And to companion someone, it means to walk beside them and to hold the space for their story to unfold. And I was not finding that in my own life fully. I think I kept all the therapists in Bakersfield in business for a while because I needed that. I needed that constant weekly infusion of, am I on the right track? Where am I supposed to go next? Those kind of things. But I really did feel like my church didn't know what to do with me. I mean, thankfully, this is not very common, to lose 2 children in a triple murder-suicide. This is an out-of-order death. This is filled with lots of trauma and tension. And thankfully, that's not very prevalent. But we could do a much better job as a church to offer support and companionship to the survivors of traumatic loss and even non-traumatic loss. Death is all around us. Everybody's lost somebody, and unfortunately all of us will have our profound loss sometime in life. Many people haven't had it yet, and that's great, and hopefully that it won't ever be someone's child. But the more traumatic, the more huge the loss, the longer it takes for the survivor to heal. After the funeral is over and, the community support, which was amazing in the beginning, meal trains and masses being said for us and people showing up, gifts, blankets, books, amazing, amazing support. But after a few months, that sort of dies down and it kind of gets a little foggy, and then it becomes very quiet and alone. And that's where I said, where's my church? And thankfully, I attend St. Elizabeth Ann Seton in Bakersfield, and Monsignor Perry was at that point where he was ready to start a grief ministry. And again, the Holy Spirit led us together. And we have several people who are on that ministry team, and it works terrific. But when we searched for a program to provide to our parish, we had to dig very deep to find a Catholic-specific loss program. We finally settled on the Grieving with Great Hope video series after looking at a lot of different programs that were available. And so we're running that now at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton, and we're very happy with it. We started with maybe 6 participants, and the current group that we have now is 26. it's grown dramatically, and I think people are really getting a lot out of it.
With the tragedy in 2012, when was it that you were able, with Father Perry, to already start not only the process of or continue your own healing, but become a healer, to become, as you call yourself, a grief companion? So when did that ministry really, when was that born?
Let's see, I think that we have been, I think this is our 3rd year. So maybe I want to say 2015, 2016.
Wow, okay.
Let's say 2016. I don't know. As
Yeah.
as you know, with people in grief, they're not very grounded in time. It's all sort of a mush together. But several years.
No, but
Yeah.
why that helps me is to know you're sharing not only that you ran through a long time of finding our own church, unable, not unwilling, but unable to address. But then, after 4 or 5 years already, you are with Father Perry and with a team becoming what you wanted to find. You created what you needed.
What the Holy Spirit is asking me now is to help other parishes build their own grief ministry team. I'm envisioning a parish that has some energy, some people who want to put a grief ministry together, but don't really know where to start. And so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel, I'd love to meet with those parish ministry teams to let them know what's available, what was helpful, maybe even some hints on how to run a group, and how to share with the participants what other services are available in their own community.
There was that training that the California Catholic Conference offered to homicide survivors. Debbie McDermott was able to get a grant, and some of you went. Some of you from Bakersfield went. What else is maybe going on in Bakersfield that actually become partners? Are there others that are sort of experiencing the same challenge, but also getting the same resource from that time away?
You know, I don't know of anything in Bakersfield specifically, but I do know of several other parishes who are at different places in their grief ministry, where they might have a grief share program running, which is a Protestant program, which is excellently produced. But where is that in our Catholic, database? We're not quite as good as the Protestants at putting things together like that. So I'd like to see maybe Dynamic Catholic pick up something like that. That was a plug there. But I do go to other trainings. The Center for Loss has been wildly helpful. Dr. Wolfelt has a wonderful tenets on grieving, helping either the therapist or the clergyman or the grief ministry team learn how to be with people in grief and how to hold the space for their story to tumble out without judging, without encouraging them to get to some point in some certain time period. That's very important. There's a lot of other opportunities too that I've tapped into. Umbrella Ministries is a Protestant program, again, for mothers who have lost children. Since my son was military, you might have noticed the uniform. Yeah. He was a naval aviator and was flying F-18s stationed at Miramar. He was early in his training, but because he was active duty military, I'm a Gold Star mother, and I work with TAPS, which is Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, a well-funded, well-run, wonderful organization for military survivors. So I've learned quite a bit through them in becoming a peer mentor and, accessing the training that they have in their programs too. So I'm weaving this all together, Protestant programs, military programs, Catholic programs, to create, like you said, my own healing program, and I hope that becoming that wounded healer has been helpful for other people.
Hungry now and wounded healer, it's the only way we can heal anyways. And to know that even he would have known that personally, we think people are so strong and so able to just do things, but unless it comes from almost a place of hurt and loss, it's not going to work. It doesn't have the base it needs.
Mm-hmm.
I am so glad that not only Maciel has been working with me for months now, creating an approach of the diocese. So there's a Catholic answer to your question.
Mm-hmm.
What's my church going to do? So what Maciel's been able to help me appreciate is we've got to form this, we really do need to address victims. And I really thank you for sharing your loss and for knowing that your parish of St. Elizabeth Ann Seton has grown in this ministry, and that you want to actually go on record, you'll bring this show on the road. You'd like to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, Maciel, we've got about 6 minutes, so we've got a little breathing space to maybe connect with what Patty's been sharing. Obviously, there is a lot that you've been working on, dreaming of, sending me resources on. How does what Patty's been sharing help us see the approach that our crime survivor ministry is going to be trying to do, trying to address the loss through horrible crimes? Fresno is rift with tragedy. Not only do we have fires and we have firefighters dying the day of the recording, the night before the recording, a loss in Parlier. But there are people who are crime victims. Your turn, Maciel, to help us see your own commitment, how it dovetails with Patty's.
Well, it's a common feeling when you lost somebody, to be like you don't know what to do. And unfortunately, we really don't have that, like, a place where we could go through and we can, like, okay, I need this, so what resource? So that is actually the purpose of what we're going to have this April 19, 2020. We're going to be having a listening and healing session. And we're inviting all the crime survivors, and as well as those who are interested to get involved, because we would like to hear, what do you need? Because like you said, when you experience it, you don't know what to do. You do not know where to get help. And I also talked to some people, and it's the same. And based on my own experience, it's like mine is a different kind of grieving compared to a homicide survivor, but we need that place where, okay, I need this and we can check. So what we hope that we could offer here at the Diocese of Fresno, and I'd like to make this clear, even though we are a Catholic, okay, community, what we will offer for this ministry of encounter and accompaniment is across all faith and religion. As long as we are in the community, within the Diocese of Fresno or beyond, we would like to make this, to give this support. So what we envision is for us to be able to come up with all kinds of resources. So for now, we thank you, Patty, for being our resource for that, that section of the grieving and, bereavement ministry, and your specialty on that, which we could serve to our community. And also we're gonna have some other resources where we would have the victim offender mediation, we'll have the circles of dialogue, and whatever need, we would like to be able to put it up on all the resources, like in the future, hopefully we come up in the website of the Diocese of Fresno where they could link social justice, restorative justice office, and then whatever you need, we can have all those resources so that when people would like to seek whatever need they have, hopefully we could offer it. And we're very new in the ministry, so we're excited to see how this will grow, and hopefully we could have something that would encompass all what you got from a Protestant and other religions. We could have in just one page, a web page of a resource.
Tell us about April 19th, where it'll be, and what we hope to do in about 30 seconds. Tell us that.
Okay, we would like to invite all the crime survivors. We're going to be having a listening and healing session. April 19, 2020 is a Divine Mercy Sunday. The event will be at 2 p.m. and we will be meeting at Bishop Steinbach Center, located at 2540, that's 2540, East Floradora Avenue, Fresno, California. Our speakers would be Jim Grant, Patty Reis, and myself. And for more information, you can reach us by number 559-488-7463 or 559-325-6888. You can give us a call or you can send us a text message. The number 559-325-6888. You can send a text message on that number. For the listening and healing session, we will have Patty talk about luminal space and her piece on how she get into the healing and how that talk would hopefully will be able to help the attendees some kind of healing and just an initial event.
Thank you so much, Maciel and Patty. In the 20 seconds left to me, I just want to remind everybody, this is the beginning of a new ministry. If you need more information about this whole approach of restorative justice connected to crime survivors, call me anytime and text me 559-708-3530 or email me at jgrant@dioceseoffresno.org. Thank you both for being here. God bless. Till next time.